What's up guys, Epic Hentai Gaming here, back with another video, and today we're going to be talking about some pretty insane Pokemon leaks that happened recently. So about 3 days ago from the time I'm recording this, Game Freak, the company behind Pokemon, suffered a huge data breach and a lot of shit was leaked out. The data of more than 2,500 employees was compromised, which luckily you can't really find anything on the internet of that, mostly because it was overshadowed by the very disturbing Pokemon lore that Nintendo's been hiding from us. And while I'm reading these stories, keep in mind that this is the same company that wanted to change the art on Sabrina's Gengar because it had a graveyard in it and they thought it would be too scary for kids. The leaks start off pretty normal, like this Pokemon, Evoluto. It's a dinosaur Pokemon that can evolve into anything, which I think is a stupid idea, and it has a dumbass name, and it sounds like a kid thought of it. Then we have this early concept art for Metagross, which is one of my favorite Pokemon. And then we have a story about a girl getting kidnapped by a Typhlosion, getting married, and after the girl gets impregnated by it, the father kills the Typhlosion. A young girl is tricked by a shape-shifting Typhlosion into thinking that he's a human. Eventually, she apparently has a child with him, and she's called his wife. Her father eventually comes and kills the Typhlosion, and when she returns to the village, she and her half-Pokemon child is teased by the men in the village who at one point cover it in fur skins. They run into the forest and are never seen again. Now this might be hard to believe, but this is actually one of the more normal stories that I'm gonna tell. Mostly because this one is based on a Japanese mythology called the Mujina, which is a story about a shape-shifting badger. But the other ones sound like unhinged fanfiction you would find in the darkest corners of Wattpad. Because in the next story, we have a guy who found an unconscious female Octillery washed up on the beach, and after getting that Octua, he throws it back into the ocean. The collapse of culture and relationships. There was a time when the boundary between Pokemon and humans was blurred. In a coastal village, there was a man. One day, as he was walking along the shore, he found a female Octillery washed up on the beach. The man had relations with the Octillery and threw it back into the sea. The next day, he went to the same spot and found the same Octillery again. He once more had relations with it and threw it back into the sea as before. One night, after several days had passed, the man had a dream. In the dream, the Octillery spoke to him. "I cannot come to you anymore, but I will deliver our child to you. It is our child, yours and mine." The next morning, the man went to the place where he had met the Octillery. There, he found a boy. The man took the boy home and raised him. Time passed. The boy grew into a young man, and the father passed away. The young man was always lonely. And for the last one, I don't even know if I could animate this without it being age restricted. Original sin based on the current Pokemon world. In the distant past, when the boundary between Pokemon and humans was still blurred, there was a woman and her companions. Every day they were bored, so they would often catch Slackoff living in a nearby forest. They would play cruel games with the captured Slackoff, sometimes killing them for fun, gouging out their eyes and cutting off their ears. One day, the woman was walking alone in the forest and saw a Slackoff hanging from a tree. She climbed the tree to catch it, but slipped and injured herself. At that moment, a Vigoroth appeared. This Vigoroth had a torn ear. The woman, startled, tried to flee, but her injured leg hurt too much and she couldn't move. The Vigoroth, with the torn ear, suddenly attacked her when it saw her. The woman lost consciousness. When she awoke, she was in an unfamiliar place. Before her lay a clear lake surrounded by trees from which many Slackoff and Vigoroth were hanging. All the Pokemon bore wounds somewhere on their bodies, marks left by the woman and her companions. Upon closer inspection, she noticed that some of the Slackoff hanging from the trees were corpses. They were the very Slackoff that the woman and her friends had killed and discarded. The Slackoff were throwing those corpses into the lake. Terrified, the woman tried to run away, but a slacking appeared. This slacking also had a torn ear. The woman realized that this was the same Vigoroth she had seen earlier, and fear overwhelmed her, causing her to faint once more. When the woman regained consciousness, she found herself at the entrance of the forest near her home, surrounded by her friends. They carried her back to her house. Sometime later, the woman gave birth to a child, but it wasn't a human child, it was a Slackoth. She intended to abandon it, but couldn't bring herself to do so. She stopped meeting with her friends and decided to raise the Slackoth. One day, her friends concerned about her visited the area near her home. They found the Slackoth sleeping there, the child of the woman. As they always did, they caught the Slackoth, stabbed it in the chest, and killed it. They took its corpse and headed to the woman's house. When she saw the slain Slackoth, the woman was overwhelmed with sorrow. She grabbed the Slackoth's body and ran deep into the forest. Her friends, shocked, chased after her. As they ventured deeper into the forest, the surroundings suddenly opened up, and they found the same clear lake from before. Around the lake were many Slackoth and Vigoroth. The woman stood before the lake, and, holding the lifeless body of the Slackoth, threw herself into the water. Afterwards, the woman's friends began to treat Slackoth as companions, just as she had in her final moments. So yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna need therapy after this. Let's hope that this is just some fanfiction from a random Game Freak employee and not part of the storyline for Pokemon ZA Legends. So anyways guys, that's gonna be it for the video. Like and subscribe if you want more content like this. Comment down below your thoughts and opinions, I'll be reading all of the comments. This is Epic Hentai Gaming and I'll see you in the next video.
Watching porn, blowing on my dick like a basset horn. Jizz on your mom like a snowstorm. I've been fucking bitches since I was a newborn.